So my name is Monique, and I'm going to talk to you guys about animal research, or more specifically animal vivisection. Animal vivisection is the act or practice of cutting into or otherwise injuring live animals, especially for the purpose of medical and scientific research. My main claim of this speech is that animal vivisection is an unnecessary part of research because the results of the experiments performed on live animals has no direct value for medical science. I'm going to talk to you guys today about my two main supporting claims. My first one being animal vivisection does not advance medical research pertaining to human health, and my second supporting claim being that there are alternatives to animal testing which would yield more informative and insightful results. Going back to my first supporting claim, which is that animal vivisection does not advance medical research pertaining to human health. There are irreconcilable differences between the anatomy and physiology of animals and humans. Humans and animals do not get the same diseases. Experiments on non-human animals do not indicate without a doubt the way that a human body would react to certain procedures or drugs. Many doctors, physicians, and researchers have vested little to no interest in animal vivisection because of the lack of insight animal testing can give to human reactions. Dr. Mark Feinberg, a leading AIDS researcher, was quoted in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution saying that, what good does it do you to test something in a monkey? You find 5 or 6 years later that it works in a monkey, and then you test it in humans and you realize that humans behave totally differently from monkeys, so you've wasted 5 years. Dr. Sabin, who's the developer of the oral polio vaccine, said that giving cancer to laboratory animals has not and will not help us to understand the disease or treat those persons suffering from it. So moving on to my second supporting claim, which is that there are alternatives to animal testing which would yield more informative and insightful results. First off, scientists could grow tissues or cell cultures from human cells in the lab, and these test subjects are more directly pertinent to human reactions, and they're more relative to the way we would react to certain drugs and procedures. Human testing results are more relevant to the way humans would respond, because humans are the best candidates for human-intended drug use. It just seems kind of common sense. Dr. McLennan from the Clinical Science Research said that there is no doubt that the best test species for man is man. This is based on the fact that it is not possible to extrapolate animal data directly to man due to interspecies variation in anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry. Humans could also give consent to testing drugs or procedures on themselves, which would yield more pertinent results to the thing. So, in conclusion, I hope you enjoyed my speech. Thanks.
From the beginning, you identify what the topic is, and we've got a statement of what your claim is. Your proposition does include one of those because statements, and that should be a supporting point as opposed to something that's included in the proposition. You label the two main supporting points of the structure, and you signposted them clearly at the beginning of the speech. So organizationally, I think you're doing okay. And then you signposted them again as you got to them, so that's fine. The definition of vivisection is okay, but there's not really much demonstration of harm or significance. In other words, I don't know how widespread these practices are, or that there's any negative consequence to doing this. There is just the argument that it has little medical value or little scientific value. So there's no negative consequence to it. It has a minimal value. That's what the focus is going to be on. The principles of differences that you're talking about at the beginning of the speech, I think that's largely assumed. You did have a quote later on in the speech that suggested that that is a valid point, and I think that you want to move that evidence earlier into the argument, especially on that first point. You had a couple of good quotes on the first point, but that's all that there is, the two quotes. One of them says, you know, what good's testing on monkeys, and the other one says, why are we bothering producing cancer in animals? But that doesn't show that other kinds of research might not be applicable, that animal research might not inform people's learning of either behaviors or systems or even disease development, because although they don't have all the same diseases, they certainly do have some of the same diseases, and there ought to be a demonstration that the research on the animal diseases has no bearing on human diseases, and I think that that's a little bit thin at this point. Then you've got another quote on the second point, and so you've got one other piece of supporting information there. All of the quotes you did give a source citation on, so that helps a bit, but that's it. You've got the three quotes. Everything else is largely assumed. You sound like you're rushing through the presentation. You need to pace yourself. The claims about alternatives and their ability to work, that's mostly asserted. And the claim that man is the best place to do these things, I don't think anybody disputes that. In fact, all scientific research ultimately gets done on men. Medical research, you know, there's not a drug that gets put on the marketplace that is not tested on human beings. So the question is, what's the harm that's occurring here? If it's an unnecessary step because humans are going to be used in the first place, well, then say that. If there's no advantage to protecting the human beings who are subjected to these tests, then say that. But you seem to make it sound like you either have animal testing or human testing, and that's a misrepresentation of the kind of research that's being done on the medical technologies and on pharmaceuticals. And so it's a misunderstanding of the principle there. What you want to be arguing is that there is a problem from the information that we get. For example, that we spend all this time learning something about monkeys that turns out not to be applicable to humans, and as a consequence we didn't develop something that would apply to humans. I think that's the kind of argument that would strengthen your position here. All right, thank you.